Hello and good morning, everyone. Paul Tranny here, diving into today's Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. You should be able to see me in a second. Slight delay there, but no big deal. You know, everybody is streaming these days. Good to have you here. It's day 3, but day 2 of the Daily Creative Challenges. So I'm happy to have you here. Hopefully everybody has their coffee. Big thank you to Jason. You guys, we got plenty going on today. I'll share the schedule later, but let's dive into this, shall we? Huh? That's good stuff. Okay, let's get this party started. Okay, just feel free to say hello. Just kind of waiting for that video to kind of show up in your feed. And yeah. All right. Let's get this party started. So everything should be fine. Not sure why you're not seeing me in the stream, but nonetheless, let's get this party started. I see Afroja and Hazam and everyone. Let's get this going. Real fast, and let me know if you have questions. Cool. Just let me know if you could see me. Everything seems absolutely fine on my end. Don't know what's going on. All right. All right, finally. All right. I can see myself. I'm so sorry about that. Again, ghost in the machine, I guess, right? Good to have you here. Sometimes it just takes a second for YouTube to pick up the stream, but it's working now. So fantastic. So good to see you here. It is day 3, but really only day 2 for the challenges. So I'm going to dive right into this. And you can see this right over here. Let's just switch screens. I'll show you, obviously, we have the Daily Creative Challenge. You can see that URL right up here, but it's also in the Challenge tab. If you're joining me elsewhere, that's where you need to go. Again, behance.net/Photoshop. You get the idea. And let's get this party started. All right. Today is all about blending images. You can see right here. And big thank you to everybody yesterday. It was really fun seeing all of the submissions yesterday. So that's what I was actually just looking at right over here in good old Discord, because what you're going to do is you're going to join that conversation, right? And you can see right over here all of the current challenge submissions as well. So there's been some really fun ones based on selfies, really cool ones. I actually really like, big shout out to Lauren's. Again, really simple, doesn't have to be complex to be impactful. So I really like this one, Lawrence. Everybody did a great job. We'll be reviewing those today. In fact, I think Aaron Nace might be reviewing some as well. So big shout out to Aaron Nace. He's going to be up next. So feel free, send in those spectacular selfies. We're going to work on blending images. We're only going to blend 2 images. Honestly, it seems pretty straightforward, but you know what? It's more complex than you think. You're like, 2 images is no problem. No. Like, we're going to get into it and you're going to learn a lot. So this is going to be good. Blending images. Get started. Click right there. You're going to be able to download this image, which I already have open, as you can see, right over on my desktop. And we'll dive into all this goodness right now. Okay, here it is. Here's the file, okay? And what we're doing this. Valder, good to have you here. James, what's up? Steve, awesome. Welcome, everyone. Paola as well, over there on Periscope. But check this out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to blend this plastic bag with this iceberg, which seems pretty easy, but look at the difference in color, in brightness and contrast. there's a lot that needs to happen here, even in the shape. So this is going to get pretty complex. By the way, this is not a new idea, and that's why I want to kind of point out, if I jump over to my browser, it's going to be based off of this plastic issue. So again, this is the National Geographic Planet or Plastic. They already did this idea. So it's an homage to National Geographic, but honestly, this idea isn't anything new either, because Tesco has done it, right? Here's Tesco's version. They did it in 2015, right? Another guy has this as his book cover. So the idea is not new, right? But we're gonna do our version of this, okay? So hopefully that works for you. Planet or Plastic. Let's pick Planet out of those two, shall we? All right. Welcome, Mia, like Sam says. Bradley in the house. Let's do this. I have these two images. Okay. First thing I'm going to do maybe is turn on this plastic bag. And sometimes what I have to do is I'll sometimes have to like duplicate an image just to have a backup. So feel free to do that at any point in time. Right down here in the layers panel, you can always grab a layer down to the plus sign and that will duplicate it, right? Same thing for the iceberg. I can duplicate it because I actually want to keep a backup just as the original so we can compare it back to that original. But here's my plastic bag. Again, I can duplicate that if I want, kind of have a backup if I want to, in case you mess up or whatever. So let's dive into this. So global warming, yeah, so this is the thing, like right now I know everybody's inside, but it's actually been really good for the environment, which if there is a silver lining, that is it. So plastic bag, what do I want to do? I want to remove the background, okay? Will a skull be involved? No, sorry, Carol. Sorry to disappoint you. I'm disappointed as well. No skulls, no flowers. We have a couple different selection tools that you'll use over here, right? You'll try, say, the lasso, right? You might know how that works. It's just like outlining it, right? But we're gonna do what we did yesterday. This is the path of least resistance, selecting that layer. Over here in your properties panel, what do we wanna do? We wanna remove the background. Sure enough, there's a button for that. Okay, right here, click remove background. It removes the background to the best of its ability. So that's always where I start, just because it's the easiest, all right? Okay, from there, look what it did. And I'm gonna pull this layers panel out since it's so important. I hate it when my darn freaking panel is so long, but this is what I have. I have this layer mask, and then I have my layer. So if I'm painting on black, it's gonna remove. Paint on white, it's gonna add to it, okay? White reveals, black conceals, as some people say, right? If you like rhymes, all right? But that's what I need to do kind of down here. Look, right down here. It's like, oh, for these handles, I really need to clean that up. It didn't do the inside, right? I could do that a couple ways. I'm gonna make sure I'm on that layer mask. I might go to my lasso tool and try to select it like so, like that. You know, and then I want to fill this area, and this is just a quick example, with black. I'll usually go to edit down to fill, okay? Most time nowadays, lasso tool is so old school. This is how I actually use the lasso tool, William. That is actually, the lasso tool is it should be called the last tool, because it's the last tool I end up using because it's so exact, right? It's too exact for this scenario. But I am just showing you that I'm gonna fill with the foreground color, which happens to be black. Boom, it makes it disappear. You get the idea. And as you know, I would probably use, as you know, it's like day 2 and I'm already assuming you know things. The thing is, I know chat is smart. Sig, Jennifer, I know you guys. But I use the quick selection tool a lot. So I go from very general selection tools to like more specific and exact. The quick selection tool is gonna be exactly like it says it is. It's gonna be quick and it's gonna select. So I'm gonna make sure, by the way, right over here, that I'm on the pixel layer. Oh, sorry about that. On this pixel layer, right? And I can click right in there and sure enough, it selected that whole area. That's fantastic. Now I can fill it with, and by the way, I'm gonna make sure I'm on the layer mask and I'm gonna fill it with black like so. So that's how I would do the handles. I'd come over here, I'd click right in here, try to grab this, And this is what I'm saying. It's like, oh, the quick selection tool kind of did a pretty good job, but it obviously screwed up right here. So guess what? You can use a combination of these selection tools. I could go from quick selection tool to our lasso tool or our last tool. It's going to be the most exact tool, you know, and I can use it to add to, just by holding down the shift key, I can add to that selection, but I can also remove from that selection by holding down the option key. So I'll hold down the option key, and to get straight lines, are you ready for this, Jan Eric? Come on now, you guys got to know this stuff. Yeah, so perfect, Jennifer. Go old school. That's awesome. If you hold down the option key, press it once, it's going to remove from your current selection. Press it a second time, and it's going to give you it's going to give you straight lines. So that's what enables me to give this a straight line like so. So that's what I typically do. Hold down the option key or alt key, right? Like that. Make sure we're on that particular layer mask and then remove like so. Okay, so that's what I do to clean this up, right? We're cleaning up plastic in the ocean is what we're trying to do. So add selection with shift, remove from a selection using your option or alt key. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Hello, Patty McCoven, how you doing? Right? Hey. Jan Eric, I always notice you. You're my friend, whether you like it or not. Okay, but this is so difficult. This is like not an easy project. It seems simple, but guys, man, oh, it's intense. Right? Because what do we have to do now? We have to change the color, we have to change the brightness and contrast. I usually like to do the big global edits, and then we'll get into something more specific. But let's go ahead and take this plastic bag. I want to adjust the brightness and contrast. So right down here in my layers panel, I have a tough time with this darn layers panel. It's not cooperating with me that well, but right down here, I'll click, and I want to add an adjustment layer. So it's going to be clicking in this circle with the line through it, okay? And how this goes is these are going to be like all the brightness and contrast controls, and then we get into color controls, and then we get into more interesting miscellaneous, I guess is what I'd call that. But we're going to stay within this first category, right? We could do brightness and contrast. We can do levels, right? So you pick your poison if you want to. You can pick brightness and contrast and add contrast. What that does is that will add brightness and contrast to the whole image, right? Notice how it's doing that. It's making everything change. Well, guess what? As I go down here, if I right click, I want to create a clipping mask. Clip it just to that layer below it. Mia, yes, I could use Puppet Warp. I could also use Distort, as well as, there's one more I'm missing, but I know where it is. So create clipping mask. What I usually do is hold down the option key and then clip. Boom, there it is. Okay, before, after, right? There it is. All right, Nicole Green, maybe that'll happen someday. So, I like brightness and contrast. That's the one people start with because it seems to make sense, because levels and curves and all this other stuff might not make a whole lot of sense. But I like going into levels and curves, right? Pick your poison, pick levels. You know what I like about levels and curves? Let me turn off the brightness and contrast and let me clip it. It has this auto button. Anything with an auto button I enjoy. So auto, click right there. It figures out the best way to change it. And you know, it gives me a histogram as well of just the brights and darks. So now I can grab this dark end and crunch it down so there's more of a variation amongst all those, the brightness and contrast. Cool? So that's what I do. I go with the auto button. Auto is in levels, it's in curves, it's super fun to use. I have so much fun with this. It's just a blast. Anna Brackett, what? Anna Brackett always gets the song and dance. I don't know why. Like, yeah, and yeah, you know, Jan Eric, you're my friend, buddy. Oh yeah, thank you, Mia. It seems really important to choose an image with a similar posture to make your life easier with this. Of course, it definitely does. Like, choosing the right image is really is so important. You wouldn't even know it. Okay, so let's go in here. We have the fundamentals of this. Let's go ahead and tint it a color. So we're gonna go down here. We're gonna go into the colors right in here. And guess what? We're just gonna go into hue and saturation. Because you know what? If I add vibrance, nothing's gonna happen because there's really no color there. Hue and saturation is where I'm gonna go. Again, this is the fundamentals. We can get more complex later on. Let's make sure it's clipped. Bam, now we have 2 clipped layers on our plastic bag. And let's colorize it. Bam, colorizing it. Cranking up the saturation. Yes, bloody, gross. Let's shift it to those nice blues like so. That's all I do. I just eyed it. I think that works out well. Yeah, so hopefully that works out. So that's what we're doing, kind of shifting to that color. That looks fine. It's clipped there just fine. Now I'm going to start distorting this in place and getting this a little bit more closely to where it needs to be. Yes, Vio, it is still live. It would be weird if I was not live and I said your name when you asked. That would be trippy. Okay, so I'm going to turn off those other layers. I'm going to go to this iceberg layer. For this layer, I actually need to remove this current iceberg. I'm gonna actually do something here. Check this out. We're using a lot of the selection tools. Let's check out the object selection tool. Selecting the object selection tool. We're gonna make sure this is set to lasso in the options bar at the top. And then I can just click. Same principle applies. When I hold down the Alt key, it's gonna give you that straight line. Click. And then I can just kind of draw around the lower portion of that particular iceberg, okay? And look what it did. It basically snapped to it. I'm actually going to copy this because I'm going to need it. I'm going to copy it, Command-C, Command-V. When I paste it, you know, I just pasted that on its own layer because I'm going to need that for later, right? But now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to quickly select this iceberg, like so. Very loosely, and we're gonna fill it. So we did an edit fill. We were filling with a foreground and background color, but now we're gonna content aware fill it. So remove it, but replace it kind of with the background, with the surrounding pixels. But this is a tough challenge for it because it's got to grab all of those, a large area of surrounding pixels. So just hit OK, wait for it, boom, it did a pretty good job, right? There might be some irregularities, but I'm not worried about that because our plastic bag is going to be right there, okay? Let's bring this into place. We don't have much time. A lot of people mentioned Puppet Warp. That's one of the things that we can do. Going into Edit Puppet Warp, what that does is that gives you this grid, this fun grid where we can put these pins. I could put a pin up here and a pin up here, right? And we could take this pin and you know what? Drag it over to this side. Drag this pin over to this side, right? To kind of distort this out and, you know, manipulate this the way we want to manipulate it, right? So that is Puppet Warp. Another way of doing that is actually going into Transform and using Warp. There's Warp and Distort. So Warp was the other word I was thinking of, okay? So Warp, I could pick Warp, and what Warp will enable me to do, again, your favorite key if you're thinking, hey, plastic bag dead ahead. That's funny. All right, so hold down the Option key. That's going to give you, just do it. If you want something, want a tool to work kind of the way it works, but a little bit differently, chances are it's going to be the Option key. But that gives me these crosshairs. So I can come up here and bam, put in, boom, a little point right there, and put in a point right in the center. Oh, hello. And what this allows me to do is bend this around. The reason I put this line right here is this is kind of my stabilizer line. And then I can take these other parts and pull them out and have some fun with it as well. You get the idea. Hit OK. There it is. We want to... All right. Fantastic. By the way, I read your comment there. You can only follow tutorials and not come up with ideas yourself. That's totally fine because like I said, this is based off of 3 other you know, the idea isn't new. So take something that's out there and try to replicate it. So from here, I can take plastic bag. Let's just make this fast. I'm going to select this top area, and I'm just going to fill it with, edit, fill with our foreground color, which is black. And there we have sort of that part kind of connecting. It's not fully there yet. Option key is Alt. Yes, I'll start saying Alt key. So it's going to be the Alt key on PC, okay, but Option key on Mac. All right, so there it is. Now guess what? I wanted it to match this particular, I saved a chunk of ice, basically, right? So check this out. I can actually take this and I can clip this to the plastic bag as well. Because this is all about blending images, just exactly like the title explains. I want to blend these two together. Now I can kind of have some fun with this, because I mean, this looks like ice, because it is. But I really want to blend it together more. Well, with this layer that I'm just going to call Iceberg, we're going to add a layer mask to it right down here, clicking right here. Bam. Adds this layer mask, and now I can start painting with black. This is my big brush. I can take it down whatever size I want. I make sure black is my foreground color, and I can just start to click and drag and blend these two together, right? So that's all I'm doing, determining what works best to make this look realistic, okay? Hopefully that works for you. I want you to get creative with this as well, like try some new things, because I also know for this plastic bag, so let's just turn off that. Remember, I reserved this plastic bag right over here. Let's let's actually do a lot of things. This is what I'm gonna do. I basically just want this top part. That's all I really want, to be honest with you. I could kind of take the top part of this plastic bag, copy it, paste it, right? It's kind of on its own layer, and I could blend this part with the top up here, right? And it would be the same process. But our goal is to blend these images, both the top and bottom, as much as possible. Yeah, Marsha with the knowledge. Flow rather than opacity. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Because what I was doing when I was painting, and thank you so much, let's just fill all of this with, let's get out of here. When I was using my brush, B for brush, right up here, I take my flow down to about 50%. So that's what I'm building up to white. If I take the flow down to say 20, I build up to white. Okay, so that's what it's doing. It builds up to like 100% transparent. I switch to white, I could build back up to opaque, right? Like that, okay? Cool, cool, boom, boom, bring this up. I got a couple minutes left. Geez, never enough time. You know how it goes. It's the same process of creating masks, maybe even trying some blend modes down here. If that works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Doing some quick shortcuts because that's what I'm doing. Quick selection tool. It's all about selections and masks. That's all this is about. Filling with black. There we go. Right. I just kind of added this piece of this plastic bag right there that I'll kind of work on a little bit more when I have time, okay? So that's all I'm doing. You get the idea. Hopefully you guys appreciate this. This is, you know, roughly the final. I encourage you to make as many icebergs as you want, but more importantly, don't use plastic if you can, obviously, and I don't want to be preachy, but, you know, planet or plastic. I encourage you to, by the way, you can export this out. Bam, bam, quick export as JPEG. It exported out in a folder right next to my PSD. Bam, there it is. Okay, take that, upload it to Discord like I'm doing right now. This is my current challenge. Made today. I hope everyone has fun and learns something new. Each day we want to be growing a little bit at least. So there it is, current challenge tab. Do the same thing. I would appreciate it as much as I appreciate you guys, right? So again, I know Paco really appreciates this, big on the environment, man. So am I. That's why it's fun hearing news stories of, you know, kind of smog disappearing from cities as of late. Jose, good to have you here as well. Beatrice, everybody. And feel free, you could always, I usually do this little pro tip. You can click this little button right here for exporting out to airdropping it to your phone and posting it to social media, you know? And again, if I did that in this case, I would just make homage to the National Geographic and the other references, because my idea, again, is not new. But it's something that needs to be said on a regular basis. So thanks so much, everybody. You've been wonderful. I'm going to leave you with the schedule, and just appreciate you as people, as icons and names that I hope to meet someday. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. We'll see you guys later. Stay tuned. Aaron Ace is up next. Yeah!